Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you, on your birthday, what is your first memory? You know, when you were 2 years old, 3 years old?
Well, I remember something about 2, 3 years when I used to see some old people going to the garden and they're going to make farine.
And make rain.
Farine. Farine is like flour.
Flour.
Oh, yeah,
Farine
yeah,
is the French word for flour.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah.
but the local ones.
I think it's done from cassava.
Oh, yeah,
Cassava.
so they
Oh,
use
yeah,
the
The cassava.
pestle and mortar. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
they don't use the mill, they grate it. They grate it
Okay.
and they take off all the bitter water, they use the bitter cassava. That's not the one you could cook. This one they make and then they take the starch,
Yeah.
they make a cassava.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this cassava is merely as a delicacy because it is so rare. It's every time they make farine, they save the starches, and when they squeeze it from the water, and they make cassava, they put coconut, different thing, and that thing is good with milk.
Yeah.
Like when it gets stale for days, you chop it, and you put it in milk, and it swells. Some kind of small children love that. It have coconut and all kind of thing in that cassava.
And
do
you
love that.
loved it.
And I love cassava.
And that was your
So
first memory.
Whenever the old people go in the garden,
Yeah.
I always say, bring me a little cassava
Okay.
and I will leave you something. So I'm running and get little guava
Yeah.
and different things put in together. By the time they came back next 2 days, sometimes the guava is rotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my father, now when I came from away, was reminding me about those days, when the people used to bring me the cassava,
Yeah.
and I would hand them these
Fruit.
fruit. Sometimes they are not very good anymore,
But you were paying them.
but I was exchanging with them.
Oh, that's a lovely story.
And at the age of 8 years, I lived, my mother and my father had passed away. And they put me to live with my aunts.
Yeah.
Because my mother went with all the children, 7 of us. She had 3 before. So she had 10 of them.
Oh.
And but there was another one, 11 children, you know. This one just died in 91 years.
Hey.
But the 10, she went with most of the children, some of them was big. And because that was before the 3 or 4 she had, she was not married.
Yeah.
But when this man met her, he decided he's going to marry her and take all the children.
Whoa.
And when things get too tight on him because so many children,
Yeah.
and my father had land, he had property, you know,
Yeah.
but he was not that bright. So after a while, all his cattle and everything finished and so on. So my mother was a seamstress. She put me to live with a lady. And at 8 years, that lady was coming from Curacao.
Yeah.
And she came to St. Lucia with a lot of things. They said they were doing Panama Canal, and people used to leave the Caribbean, go and work and come back. And some of the ladies come back very wealthy. She was one that came back. But the same day she came back, she got crazy.
Why?
Why?
Well, they must have, she lived in a village. The story is long, which was very much people believe in witchcraft in that village in those days.
Oh.
And she got crazy. Like maybe some OB or something they give her to drink.
Yeah.
And she sold all the things, trucks, loads of things. Those days there's no machine with this peddling machine. They didn't have that. They didn't have no foot machine here.
So she couldn't work?
No, she gave away everything in about 3 days' time. The wealth that she worked for all her life. She gave it away. 2 shillings, 1 shilling, she sold them. But she was a very clever old lady. She went to the asylum, she came back, When my mother left my father, this lady started to pick up again. She started to build houses and go to that little house.
And this is when you went to live with her?
Then they put me to live with her.
Yeah, yeah.
But one day, she gave me to carry a bag of butter.
A bag of...
Butter.
What's bottle?
The bare bottle, empty bottle.
Oh, empty bottles. Okay.
A glass bottle.
Glass bottles, yeah.
It was the sweet drinks bottle,
Yeah.
soft drinks bottle. And maybe you get a cent for how many of them for one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
She gave me the carrier back from Roselet village, in the village, to Castries, by the bridge.
It's quite a long way, yeah.
And then I went down as a little boy, 8 years,
Yeah.
and I carry all of these things down to town. I knew the place. So, but I had a toothache. My mouth was one side.
Toothache.
By then it's about 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
and I went to my mother, and my mother started to cry.
Yeah.
She used to live in Castries. She was a seamstress, but she couldn't take care of all of us.
No.
So she thought that this lady,
Was looking after you.
yes, because she have had 2 other children adopted
Yeah.
too, you know, so she had 3 of us. And boy, we were going to school. We were doing what she said. But we had to know every corner of that little village, collecting ripe bread. She had a lot of pigs, and we had to go and feed them.
So you were having to work hard.
Oh yeah, and then I carried that, but when she saw me with that toothache, she takes salt, fine salt, she pong it, and she
She
rubbed,
put salt on your tooth.
she rubbed the abscess from
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
with the salt, rub it, and it bursts.
Yeah.
That must hurt.
And no, it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't
Okay.
She rubbed it from inside, the gum,
Okay.
because it's swell,
Yeah.
it's an abscess.
Yes, of course.
She
Yeah,
burst it.
Yeah.
And then tumor came from that thing, and I fall asleep. I get up the next day. And my mother was still crying, saying that she don't know, but she can never
She
let
couldn't
me
look after you.
go back there. My father came to take me from there
Okay.
and took me to live with his mother.
Your
Took me-
grandmother. Yeah.
Your grandmother?
Yes, my grandmother.
Yeah.
My grandmother didn't like no black people
Oh, really?
because she was militant.
Okay.
She was half
A
white.
mixture, yeah.
She was kind of militant.
So she didn't like black?
She didn't like black. But she was away when my father got married to my mother. And by the time she came back, she started to quarrel. She didn't know why they couldn't live together.
Yeah.
But she came and she started, after they had 7 children,
Yeah.
my mother had to run away because my father did nothing. All is well finished.
Yeah.
Every time they had something, he killed a cow to make a party when they did not need a cow.
No more cows.
Now, you see what my children is doing there.
They're doing very well.
That is very good. That is our
Yeah.
little gallery, and we have our people.
You're doing very
And
well.
we join in, and this is my champagne.
Cheers.
And I'm not going to go
Happy
nowhere.
birthday, Eudovic.
I'm not going to go nowhere tonight. But I tell you, so it was there I lived with that lady who did not like this little black boy.
Yeah.
We to talk about my mother before me. I used to go and sit under some trees,
Yeah.
playing some tall
Yeah.
trees. And there I would see magic. Little man dancing. And
Imagination.
I lose imagination. I'm seeing all kind of little things.
Yeah.
I was in a world by myself.
Yeah.
That is truth. And it was during that time I did my first statue called Alibaba.
So that's where you got your inspiration.
You know?
Yeah,
And-
So who taught you how to carve?
Nobody.
You just
You don't
started
know.
I
playing?
just started, and when I was 29 years, I was given a scholarship that took me to Africa.
Right.
Okay.
And
Where did you go in
I
Africa?
went to Nigeria,
Excellent.
West Africa,
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I went there because I work with United Nations as an art instructor.
Right.
Then here in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
That's about 42 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Dear,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
given this
Yeah.
scholarship.
Yeah.